This girl right here made $203,000 in 17 trades. $203,000 in 17 trades. That's $203,000 in 17 days trading. She's making an average of $11,941 per trade. So imagine this. You click a button, and every time you click that button, you make $11,941, almost $12,000. Click a button, $12,000. Click a button, $12,000. Now, let's find out how she did it.
I made a total of $203,000 in just 17 trades. So I decided to continue this trend by doing another year review after the feedback I got from last year. I did my entire 2023 year review, showing you guys that I placed 57 trades. I showed you guys the struggles I had in January, the total profit and loss. So I'm gonna continue to showcase all of my trading, my skills for 2024. Last year, I was making the transition from a day trader to a 4-hour swing trader. It was tough. I was struggling. The first month, I think I was down $6,000, brought my account from $20,000 down $6,000. So I already had to make so much more of an effort to continue through the new time frame in 2023, whereas this year...
Okay, that's extremely difficult. If you start an account or a year and you're already down thousands of dollars, your mental game, your trading psychology has to be very solid to be able to not let that turn into a downward spiral, because that's usually what happens. And what happens specifically is people get themselves into a situation where they start thinking that they have to make back their losses. And as soon as you start thinking that way, you're screwed. And things usually spiral downward very quickly. So she was able to avoid that. Let's hear more.
This year was completely different. I was able to just see this 4-hour time frame click. I didn't have to second guess, overthink, no hesitation. The 4-hour time frame swing trading this year completely clicked for me. The differences between last year and this year is I've found my confidence in swing trading. Whereas last year I was still trying to find out what swing trading was and kind of find my way, staying in the 4-hour time frame, leaving the 1-hour time frame behind. And this year I did it with grace. So even though I didn't have the same struggles that I had last year, I found new struggles. So
key point, always struggles in day trading. Always struggles in day trading. People are looking for the perfect time frame. If you find the perfect time frame, your struggles will be a thing of the past. No, there's something that sucks about every single time frame. So instead of looking for the perfect time frame, just find the time frame you're most comfortable with, and that's the one that will have the thing that sucks that you think sucks the least. Okay.
Being a swing trader, I have found that holding trades are exhausting, and it is a skill you have got to develop over time.
Yeah, my question is, if she's placing 17 trades and generating 200 grand, how long is she holding these trades?
Just purely experience. You've got to hold trades for weeks on end, being in drawdown, being in profit, weeks, watching it go back in drawdown, and then closing the trade and being completely exhausted by the end of it. So that's just something the experience you'll get through just holding longer, just purely.
But I guess it's worth it, right? Because she's killing it.
Being in the new time frame, being a swing trader. And those were the different struggles that I had. So not to say that I didn't have any this year, because there were still struggles, but very different than I had last year. Last year was just purely trying to get a hold of swing trading, kind of leaving the day trading mindset, leaving the lower time frames, and then looking at a bigger picture. So those were the struggles last year. This year, I'm struggling with trade exhaustion. I am taking on higher risk this year as well. So seeing those bigger profits and not wanting to just immediately close because of a dollar amount. So talking about psychology, we can get a little bit into when I actually dissect some of these trades, but now let's actually get into the trades. So I will start with just breaking it down by month. There's not very many trades, so these are gonna be very easy to go through. So let's get into the stats that I had for January. Before we get into it, I wanna show you guys the dashboard that I use and the site that I use to track all of my trades so that I can convey all of this information to you guys. So I use TradeZella. This is a trade journal, and now let's get into my stats for January. All right, January 2024, I placed one singular trade. I already remember the mindset I was in. I was having FOMO. I hadn't placed a trade for most of January. We're at the last week of January, and then finally I was presented with an entry. I was confident. I took the trade and closed it on January 29th for.
Wow. Okay, so she waited almost an entire month to place one trade. Waiting almost an entire month to place one trade, the amount of patience and discipline that takes. Do you know the kind of patience and discipline that takes? A lot. Okay, a lot. It's impressive.
Profit of $10,000. Let's dissect this trade as a whole. The coolest part about TradeZella is I can go back and actually see the chart in real time, where I was, the entry, the exit, where my lines were. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy for some of these instruments because I'm not sure if TradeZella has the ability to toggle the bid adjustment on and off. So you guys might see a little bit of a discrepancy here on where my lines are at versus where the entry was. But you guys can see I have the entry here at $913.99, and then we have an exit at $935.40. It was a long
Okay, so this is obviously a long position, right? Because she bought down here and she sold up here.
position. I traded 10 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 2,141 ticks. And then let's kind of just go through all of it. So I won't do too much as far as the journaling because I have many videos where I kind of break down how I journal my trades. Why do I give my trade a 3.5 star rating? Why did I label it as high risk, trendline break, 3 touch point break? Why did I label it as a FOMO mistake? So I'll go through as much of a broad overview as I can on the journaling aspect, but I have plenty of videos that you guys can click the link down below to see or watch one of these videos where I totally dissect my trading journal. Okay, so this was my...
Did you catch that? That she labeled this a FOMO mistake? So a mistake for her is making $10,000 on a trade.
My entry. We're looking at a trendline break. The price broke through this downward trend line. I took a long position at $913.99 and price continued in my favor.
Okay, so she's long here. Price immediately goes against her. She gets a move up and then immediately goes against her again and then goes against her even more.
We were in drawdown and then boom, we finally got a good enough move to close my position at 935.40. Now I've got different playbooks. We're going to get into this at the end of the video. I have 2 different playbooks that I'm going to go over, and it is a 2 touch point break and a 3 touch point break. We're going to go over the stats of each one at the end of the video, so stay tuned. A little sneak peek is going to show you guys that win percentage does not mean anything. But this right here was a 2 touch point break. I went long after the price broke this downward trend line that had 2 touch points. Long position here. We're in drawdown. It's within my parameters. It is abiding by my safety line, and boom, we got a...
What she means by safety line is stop loss, right? So that's for the rest of us, that's called stop loss.
Spike up, close the trade. I closed it because we were at a horizontal level of resistance here, this 930.88, and I was happy. It was my first trade of the year. Let's capitalize on 10 grand. I'll take it. Let's move on to the next trade. Okay.
Yeah. What? No complaints, right? Amazing.
So all of January, that's it.
And by the way, just want to point one thing out. When she shows you this trade,
singular trade,
and she shows you
resistance here, this 930.88,
and I was happy. On the trade, you want to watch for the risk to reward ratio, right? She'll show you the risk to reward ratios on each trade, and what we're looking for. Well, most traders generally agree. If you have at least bare minimum a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, then that's considered a good trade. So be looking for that.
This is my first trade of the year. Let's capitalize on 10 grand. I'll take it. Let's move on to the next trade. Okay, so all of January, that's it. One singular trade, $10,000. Let's move on to February. So being a swing trader,
one trade the whole month. Wow.
Trader coming into 2024 in the 4-hour time frame, I was experiencing a little bit of FOMO. I hadn't placed a trade for the first half of January. I didn't get into the trade until January 23rd. So
okay, so again, she's able to sit on her hands a long time. That's really impressive. This is one of the biggest problems for day traders. I know it's one of the things that I've struggled with the most, which is just sitting on my fucking hands. It's difficult to do, right? Especially if you're the type of personality like me, which is like a big action taker. So obviously her trading style seems to be working for her. And obviously she's saying she's experiencing a little bit of FOMO, but after 3 weeks, okay? So showing that she's also human. Right? She's getting impatient. And yeah, I get it. You know, you placed one trade and we're like 2 months into the year. So now she's starting to experience a little bit of FOMO. But notice, she's only starting to experience some FOMO after many, many weeks of being able to just do absolutely nothing and just watch the charts, which is absolutely excellent.
This was a little bit of I'd say a rushed decision. Ideally, I like a 3 touch point trend line break. I want enough information. I want an A+ clean setup. This one wasn't, A++. This was like a mediocre setup, but I think FOMO and getting into already the end of the month of January, starting out my year, there's a lot to dissect here. So comparing it to my year last year, I had a little bit of PTSD. My last January was awful, was completely awful, was embarrassing. I had to showcase that I lost $6,000 on social media while simultaneously saying that I'm going to become a swing trader, follow me along this journey, and it sucked. I was really hesitant. A lot of hesitation coming into January. I wasn't sure if the price action was going to be
Okay, and I just want to mention something about this. She showed herself losing $6,000 live, right? Now, I've made videos on Tori before, and people in the comments often say that she's fake. They accuse her of being fake or scam or something, but it's like, think about it. Why would she be showing herself losing thousands of dollars if that were the case? It just doesn't even make sense.
Clean. So we're looking at week 3 of January. Finally, I placed my trade. Not ideal, not A+, a little bit FOMO driven, but regardless, we've got a profit nonetheless. So I'll take it. Definitely some psychological stuff was taken over for most.
Okay, so what's noteworthy here is that she's noticing her mental game, right? And this is one of the biggest differences between new traders and more experienced traders. The new traders, they have no idea about trading psychology, and they're just completely unaware of what's going on with their thoughts and emotions. They're just focused on the chart, and that's like the only thing that they have in their field of awareness. But what she's noticing is that there's emotions bubbling and that those emotions are troublesome. So she's monitoring her susceptibility for errors, because that's what those things are. The FOMO and the restlessness, all of that is susceptibility to errors. And she's aware of that, which is the thing to note here. That's what you want to be. It's not that you're not going to experience those emotions, right? Traders say, oh, I want to trade without emotion. No, it's that you're aware of them and that you know what to do when they start to bubble up.
To January. But now let's get into February. February, I also placed one singular trade. We have a $29,000.
So one trade in January, then she waits weeks again, and one trade the second half towards the end of February.
We'll call it $30,000 trade in February.
30,000.
No trades at the first half of February. I didn't get into this trade until February 12th. Now let's break this one down as well. This one right here was a 3 touch point trendline break entry. Let's go over the position. So we took a long position in platinum at 888.72. I was able to capitalize on 1.9R. I gave myself 4 stars for this trade setup, and it just felt a little better. So we were already able to kind of rip the Band-Aid off for the first trade of the year in January. Now we're coming into February a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident, taking a little bit more of an A+ setup right here with this 3 touch point trendline setup. So let me zoom out so you guys can see a little bit clearer idea here. We've got 1, 2, 3 touch points on a downward trend line. Price broke. We took a long.
Okay, so she hasn't said this in terms of her setup, but what she's going for, I can see it now, is she's going for trend reversals, right? And if you're swing trading, meaning you're going for like big profits, like 2, 3 times your risk, that's what you're going to most likely be looking for, right? You're essentially looking to enter as the price has been exhausted and looking to move in the other direction, right? And here's a good example of that. So the price is going up and up and up, and then we made a top here, right? So that would be 1 push up, 2 pushes up, 3 pushes up, and then we get one more test of the high, and then we start to head down here, right? So now we're heading down. Price is coming down to test one of these lows here. Bottom's out here. We've got a double bottom with here. Boom, 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 right? And then now the price is reversing up. So it looks like she entered here and that we went down for another test of the bottom to make that double bottom. And then she got the move up that she was looking for, which resulted in a trend reversal, which I can see now is what she's looking for on these bigger swing trades.
Long position here, and then closed at a level of resistance at 918.52. So this one was pretty easy. I felt like I was getting the momentum. I was getting a hang on things. So let's talk about the profit here. So we're looking at a $30,000 trade in February. A singular trade, open and closed, $30,000 profit. One thing that I want to kind of express to you guys is that this year was a year of many records. I hit personal bests back to back to back. So if I'm being honest with you, I'm not sure if this was my record trade at the time. I think, I could be wrong, but we'll kind of dissect it a little bit more as we go through the year. I'll be able to remember my $40,000, absolutely, because that's still
It gets better.
to date one of my record trades. But this one, this $30,000 trade, I can almost guarantee was my record trade at the time. So there was a lot of emotions. It's a very exciting thing to not only have just placed 2 trades in the year, we're only in the 2nd month of the year, both profits, we're feeling good, but also close a record trade. It's an incredible feeling. All right, so we're looking at 2 trades already for the year, first 2 months of the year, both profits. Let's see if we find any losses here. Let's get into March. Okay, so March, we closed a $10,000 trade. That put me at $50,000 for the first 3 months of the year.
That's pretty cool, right? $50,000 and you're 3 months into the year and you've taken what is she taking so far? 3 trades?
That is so exciting. I wasted no time and decided to withdraw all $50,000 on the 7th of March and used those funds to actually completely furnish my new apartment in Nashville. It was incredibly fulfilling. I have a video where I kind of did a walkthrough. It was more of like this surprise. I gave these interior designers like an idea or a vision, and I got to completely furnish my entire new home in Nashville. And to use 100% of the funds from trading was mind-blowing to me. So March was an awesome month. We closed $50,000 trading profits for the first 3 months. We withdrew all $50,000 and put it towards furnishing my apartment in Nashville. But there's one more trade at the end of the month. So we're looking at 2 trades. This one right here, we have our first loss. I took a $2,800 loss at the very end of March.
One thing I want to point out is notice the discrepancy in size between this win of 10,700 and the size of this loss, 2,800. Notice that the win is multiples bigger, like many times bigger than that loss. Okay. That's what you want to see. That is exactly what you want to see. And that's how you start to, that's when you see that their profitability is exceptional, right? Because her average profitability per trade starts looking better and better. And that's the measure of the effectiveness of any trading strategy, is average profitability per trade. And that means essentially that the average size of your wins is significantly bigger than the average size of your loss. And you can see that that's how her stats are shaping up already, which is great.
Let's kind of dissect this trade here.
And it also shows you that she's not taking on irresponsible amounts of risk, right? Like she's clearly very aware of the amount of risk that she's taken on, and she's maintaining consistency there over time, which is very difficult to learn how to do.
Okay, so if you guys have been following along for many of my videos this year, there's probably one video that you have seen many a times, and it is me beating myself up about getting into the wrong contract for platinum. When I'm swing trading and I'm trading the futures market, there are expiration dates in these contracts, and to make sure that you get into the right one is fairly crucial. Otherwise, you will get into a contract and it will expire in the next few days and your position will be liquidated. So I got into the wrong contract in platinum at the end of March. So I went ahead and closed my position. I solidified a $2,800 loss and then re-entered into the current contract, where we then in turn made a profit. I wouldn't have had to solidify that loss. So whether it was a loss based on the strategy or a loss based on just poor execution, it's a loss nonetheless. So we have our first loss of the year, $2,800 in March. Let's move on to the next month. We've got an awesome beginning trade. 3rd of April, we closed $30,000. Let's dissect this trade. It is a 3 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 2.04R, and the chart isn't as beautiful.
Okay, so 2.04R, which means that she's doing about twice her risk. So if she's risking $10, she's making $200. If she's risking $100, she's going for, if she's risking $10, she's looking to make $20. If she's risking $100, she's looking to make $200, right?
Beautifully marked up, as most of mine are, but here you can still see we've got point A, point B, 2 touch points, downward trend line. We've got a break, and I was actually in drawdown for most of the beginning of this trade. Then finally, price took off. We were able to close at $948.89 for a profit of $30,000. I went long 20 contracts and was able to capitalize on 6,031 ticks. I will say, being in drawdown in this trade, as long as you have proper risk management or proper safety line placement, drawdown is natural. It's normal. You're gonna have losing trades. You're gonna have moments where you enter and you're immediately in drawdown. So without proper risk management, you are at risk for losing all of your money. So let's have...
What I like here is you can tell that her expectations are aligned with reality. You know, often traders don't expect the price to go against them, and they're confused or think something's wrong when it does, right? That's not aligned with reality. What's aligned with reality is saying that I cannot predict what's going to happen, not exactly. And so I have to work with what shows up as well as execute my strategy, right? And my strategy is going to give me some approximation of when the move is going to happen in the way that I think. But there's also something called reality, which is that I don't have a crystal ball. And you can see that she's very clear on that, which is, trading psychology 101.
Have proper risk management or proper.
By the way, read The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tendler if you want more on that.
Safety line placement. So we've had an entry, long position, 918.73, closed it at 948.89. We capitalized on $30,000. So the mistake that I labeled on this trade was consolidation. I excel when prices are trending, and I happen to make a mistake and enter when markets were consolidating. And it's way cool to be able to label your trades like this. Okay, so that was just the very.
Okay, so what she means, just in case anyone's wants more detail here, right? The price was going down here. So this is a downtrend. Clearly, you can see we went from here to went down, right? And this is consolidation. Another way of saying that is trading range, right? So the markets have a market cycle, meaning they don't just go down and then change from down to up. They form a trading range first, and then they either continue down or they reverse up. And that's consolidation or a trading range. And that's what this looks like, right? Until we form this double bottom, the one bottom here, and then another double bottom, almost perfect equal double bottom there. And then we got a move up, right? So she's looking to enter at some point when the move up is either about to happen or as it's happening. And what she's saying is that she entered before that point, which wasn't really necessarily a problem. She just had to take some drawdown and then things went her way. But I can see what she's saying here. It's optimal to actually enter as the trend is moving up. So you eliminate the drawdown or reduce the amount of drawdown you take, which is a much more comfortable situation.
Very first trade of April. Let's see if I placed any more trades in that month. Spoiler alert, I did. All right, 3rd of April, closed $30,000. I didn't trade for almost 3 weeks after that. But then finally, we opened a position on April 25th and closed it before the end of the month. We closed this position on April 29th for a total of $24,000. This one.
The patience, it's so impressive to me to be able to sit on your hands for weeks on end. I think it's absolutely incredible. And it's something I'm working on personally, is being able to do that more. And even if you trade a shorter time frame, right? Being able to sit on your hands and be more patient and be more selective and wait for those better, higher probability setups will just make you more money.
Was a 2 touch point trend line break. I was able to capitalize on 1.55 R. And
okay, so as we said, we're looking for a minimum. Traders generally agree a minimum of 1 to 1 risk to reward ratio, or ideally more, but that's 1.5. So good. That's a great balance of risk to reward there.
Let's break this trade down. So notice this is platinum right here. This is the second trade that I placed in April, and also only the second instrument that I have traded in the entire year. I'm only trading platinum and crude oil. Okay, so let's break this trade down. We've got a downward trend line, only 2 touch points here, point A, point B. Price broke out, and we took our long position here at 920.79. Price continued up. We closed, as you can see, I don't have a horizontal level marked up here, but you can kind of see just visually where this red horizontal is at 966.20. Price got to this level of resistance. I closed. One thing that I want to start talking about this year, because this is something that I've noticed, is that most of my exits, if not all, were based on a level of support and resistance. And I can tell this is 1, because of trade exhaustion, and 2, because I am taking on more risk this year. I am more inclined to just take profit because I am simply up a dollar amount. I am trading bigger profits than I have in the past. I am closing positions that are bigger than I have in the past. It's more that I'm comfortable with, more that I'm used to. So when I see $24,000 or $30,000, simply just because I see the dollar amount, I am so much more inclined to close it. Whereas you guys know that I am a trend line trader, I have action lines and safety lines, and my strategy excels when I can hold the trade out for its entirety, wait for the safety line to get crossed. You can see here in almost all of the trades this year, the exits were based on support and resistance, or a horizontal level here, or a key level, not based on a safety line getting broken. So you can already see this is kind of one of the things I was struggling with this year specifically, psychologically, is the bigger dollar amounts. So I'm working on it. You will be able to see I work through it as the year progresses, as I continue to place more trades. But this is a very obvious first point that I can see I was struggling with, was just the dollar amount. amounts. So higher dollar amounts, I was more inclined to close it, whereas I should have waited for a safety line to get broken.
Okay, and what she's saying there is basically she can see looking back on her trades. And you can see that right here, right? That if she was able to hold longer, that she just would have made more money. So you can see her entry was here, right? And then she closed here, which is a very solid exit, right? But what she's noticing is that the price retraced, right? We got a pullback here, decent pullback. And then the price made another move up, small pullback again. And then we got another move up here. Okay, so I don't know what that would translate to in increased profits, but it definitely would have been a lot higher in terms of her risk to reward. So what you see is that even though she's doing well, right, she closed a trade for $24,276. That's good, right? But she's still looking for ways that she could have done it better. This is what the pros do. They're always looking to see how they can do better. This is why in the comment section of my videos, when people are critical of me looking at other people's trades and saying, how could this have done even better? Because I'm looking to learn from them, right? Not to criticize them, but to see how that actual trade could have been executed better by anyone, right? These people in the comments, they don't get it, right? The pros, the people who are the best, the people who are the top performers in any category, they are always looking for how they could have done better. And those are the people at the highest upper echelons in any field.
So just one thing I can already see going back through and dissecting the years so far. $24,000. We got an entry, we got an exit. We did 20 contracts. We were able to capitalize on 4,862 ticks here. And my R was 1.55. So that was April.
So if she held if she held longer, that probably would have been like at least a 2, right?
Let's see what we got next. So we are on the 6th trade of the year now. We're at end of April, trade closed, month closed. Let's see what I did next. May, no trades. I was in a position to take an entire
That's amazing. So she's just like, yeah, it's May. I'm killing it. I'm just going to take the whole month off.
month off of trading. I was satisfied with my trading. I'm hitting personal bests. I'm making withdrawals. I'm on cloud 9. So I gave myself an entire month of no trades. All right. I gave myself yet another month. Now, maybe this wasn't necessary. 2 months of a break probably didn't need, but I took all of May and all of June off of trading. I was focusing on content creation, on my team, on some new business endeavors. So this is the coolest part about trading is when you reach a level or a goal that you're satisfied with or you're happy with,
you can do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want, right? It is one of the coolest things about trading, the amount of freedom. It's unbridled freedom, right? Completely and totally unrestrained and unlimited freedom. However, it is a gift and a curse, right? Because as she's saying, she probably, well, based on her stats, she absolutely would have made more money if she traded that second month. So maybe take a month off, awesome, but maybe don't take 2 months off because she's probably looking at how much she would have made and saying like, yeah, I probably should have, maybe gotten back to the charts a little bit sooner. So that's the thing. There's no boss saying, hey, when are you going to get back in there and make that money? So this is something every trader has to learn for themselves, is like how to essentially manage yourself and be a good boss of yourself, which is hard to learn how to do.
With, you have the ability to just take a break. You can quit for a month. 2, I don't know if was completely necessary, but right. I gave myself 2 months. Now let's get into July. Oh, I remember July. This is a beautiful example of what you shouldn't do as a trader when you have ego, you've got a big head, you're thinking you're the best trader in the world. Then you're thinking, why don't we just experiment with crypto futures?
Okay, so you can start to see what's happening here, like starting to let it get to her head, probably because of the success and how she's just completely killing it, right? Takes a couple of months off. And then now she's saying she starts experimenting with crypto in the live market. You don't want to experiment with anything in the live market, right? The live markets are not for experimenting with your strategy or testing your strategy. No. You do your testing on the simulator with the paper trading account. And then only if you're confident, once you've seen the results prove themselves out on the paper trading with simulated account, that's when you move into the market. But only after you've done that back testing and you've also done simulated trading and you're confident and it's been proven out. Trading in a live environment is not for experimenting at all.
I got into an Ethereum trade, held for 3 weeks, was down $30,000. Somehow the trade came back up and I closed with $46. I have an entire
So that's called getting very, very lucky.
video of that trade breakdown. It was a mistake in every
But I also have to say, right? Like an amateur probably would have taken the loss and thought they had to. So the fact that she was able to hold in case it came up. Now, I think arguably that's a positive. I don't know. She's saying it, right? It was a mistake to begin with. But what I could see is that the way that she managed the mistake was actually effective, which is good.
way, shape, or form. I held through drawdown. I got rid of a stop loss. I was willing to risk it all for Ethereum futures. Wow.
Okay, so that's not good at all.
But somehow.
And this is a lesson here for all of us, right? For Tori and for all of us, which is that when things are in trading, when things are going well, you are susceptible and at risk of doing the worst possible thing. Okay. So don't think that because things are going well, that you've learned and that you've made it, right? Like the better you do, it's almost like the better that you do in trading, the more at risk you are of catastrophe, that's a tough one.
I came out positive on that trade. So I can already see psychologically, ego way too high. Confidence maybe too high.
She recognizes
to experiment
it, right?
with a new instrument, especially crypto futures, something I've never done before. I remember social media was involved here. I made a video on social media talking about how this is a great entry and it did really well. And then I felt like I was obligated to take that entry since I told social media this was such a great entry and ended up being a complete flop. It was it was a mess. It was a nightmare.
Sounds like a mess.
I continue to hold purely because I didn't want to have to tell the whole wide world that I was wrong. And somehow, luckily, I got out of that trade with $46. You guys can click the video here to see that entire trade breakdown. It's not one of my best, but I at least broke down for you guys all the mistakes I made.
And she's willing to share mistakes, right? That's the thing. Let's keep saying it. I'll keep saying it. Like if she was scamming people, why would she be showing her mistakes like that?
And how to not do what I did. But we did place another trade. We came back. So we're done experimenting. We're done throwing our strategy in the trash. We're done kind of veering from whatever path I should be on. And we're back to it. Beautiful trading, beautiful execution. We got into a futures trade on the 26th of July and then closed it on the 31st for my record trade to date. So after that nightmare of a trade,
$39,000. Wow.
I was able to lock back in and we got into a trade on the 26th of July and closed it on the 31st for my record trade. To date, this is still my best trade I've ever had. It is a $40,000 trade. Let's break it down. It was in platinum, a 3 touch point trendline break. I was able to capitalize on 2.9R here. Let's look at
Okay, remember we said anything above a 1 and she's on the verge of 3 to 1 risk to reward, which is awesome. So that means for every $100, she's making 300, which is great.
Chart here. We have got a 3 touch point trendline break, point A, point B, point C here. Price broke. We took a long position. No drawdown here. Bar after bar after bar. It's working. We're in profit. Now, this one I will say we closed yet again because it got to a level of support and resistance. It acted as support over here, acted as resistance over here. I closed at 988.30. Looking at this chart, you would think that I knew something that everyone didn't. I happened to close here at the high it made at the time. Did I know it was going to completely turn around and just fall off a cliff after this? I had no earthly idea. No. I closed this trade simply because we got to a level of resistance. Does it make you feel good?
Okay, so just a lesson here as far as like chart reading. So when the price goes down and makes a bottom, right? Here you've got a double bottom. So we made a bottom here, then we made another bottom here, forming a double bottom. And then the price now is reversing up, right? When it does that, often it'll go up. Where will it go up to? It will often go up to test those prior lows. So we can see here, right in this area, is where there were prior lows. There's a prior low here, prior low here, prior low here, prior low here, prior low here. So here's the logic on this. And if you already know this, like, well, maybe some of you already do know this. I'm sure some of you do. But just in case you don't, what she means by a resistance area is here. And the reason why it's a resistance area is because this is where there were sellers previously. And that's what the price is now going up to find where the sellers are. So what she's saying that she's doing is she's long, which means she's buying, and then she sold near where there was selling previously. Makes perfect sense, right? And she was able to time it perfectly. Now that's getting lucky, right? You don't want to expect that. But you know, she did something that makes sense. And often in trading, you have to just make moves that are logical. And that's a very logical exit that she has there. So another thing I want to note about this is her best trade, I think. Yeah, this is her best trade of the whole year, right? She did almost $40,000 on this trade. And notice she entered long here and she entered just as the market was reversing up. And as soon as she entered, there are very small, little teeny tiny pullbacks. The price more or less goes straight up as soon as she enters, and then she gets out perfectly. And the trade just did exactly what she wanted, exactly how she wanted it. And what you'll find is when you have your best trades, that's usually how they work. They do exactly what you want to do. The downside is that they happen rarely, but the upside is that they'll do exactly what you want ever so often. And the key here, and the way most people screw that up, is they're not ready for it. They can't handle it because they're not used to the market doing exactly what they want. And so what they'll do is they'll freak out, and they would have closed this like way sooner than she did. So when the price does do exactly what you want, like you want to be able to actually allow the market to pay you that 40 grand, right? And that's a whole nother skill that you have to practice as you continue to develop your skills. And you can see very clearly that she's showing an example of how she's able to do that, right? She didn't freak out and she let that money flow into the account and she let her profits run. That's what we're talking about. It's the skill called letting your profits run, which is difficult. Surprisingly, it's difficult to just allow that money to flow in there without freaking out.
Closing at a top? Absolutely it does. And does it make you feel good when it's an absolute record trade? Yeah, I'm feeling great after this trade. So we got a lot of records here, a lot of personal bests, especially to come back after such a huge mistake in experimenting with crypto futures. I love that I can just lock back in and then boom, we got a record trade here. So we went long 20 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 7,939 ticks here, and our R was 2.92.
Almost 3 risks to reward. Yeah, it's an excellent trade. Banger.
Love that one.
That's what we call a banger.
So recap of July. 2 trades, 1 awful. Somehow closed at $46 after being in $30,000 worth of drawdown. And then closed my record trade, $40,000 on the 31st of July. August, I'm a Leo. Usually my August months are
probably because she's a Leo, right? That's probably why she's trading well.
Incredible.
This
time around, anticlimactic. I placed 1 trade on the 13th, closed it the next day for $3,000. And then took my first official loss of the year. I know we talked about the one that I had by...
That's crazy. So her first official loss of the year didn't come until August. That's just nuts.
Poor execution, getting into the wrong contract. But this one was an official loss based on the strategy. And I was incredibly proud of this loss. Okay, so let's go over the first trade in August. It was a $3,000 trade. This is a 2 touch point trend line break. I was able to capitalize on 0.26R, and let's look at the charts. Okay, so we've got a 2 touch point trend line break, point A, point B here. We took a short position, but you can see I closed very shortly after. I will be honest with you guys, this was an accidental close. I did not have order confirmation on TradingView on my phone, so if I accidentally hit the X, trade is gone. It is over. Poof.
Please don't trade on your phone. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not trade on your phone unless you're Tory Trades, okay?
Whereas now I have order confirmation on, so if I hit the X, it says, "Are you sure?" And then you hit yes, and then the trade is closed.
That's one of 1,000 other reasons why you should absolutely never trade on your phone.
And you learn. So I was still able to capitalize on almost $3,000. I'll take it, sure. But you can see the exit, there was no rhyme or reason here. That was because of an accidental trade. The exit should have technically still been at the same price, but days later. Okay, the next one was a proper loss based on proper risk management. I love going over good losers. So let's go over this one here next.
Okay, so what does that mean? How could that be possible? How could that be possible? That it's good? That it's a proper loss? Like, that doesn't make sense. I thought you're supposed to... I thought Warren Buffett said the rules of, finance, the rules of trading or investing anything is like never lose money, right? No. In trading, the kind of trading we're doing, right? There's something called effective losing. And effective losing means you did exactly what your strategy said to do, and the market did not go your way. And that's actually called effective losing. And the skill there is to not get down on yourself when that happens and to be able to take that in stride. So let's see how she does with that.
This was a $6,500 loss. Let's see why I entered and why I exited.
Okay, again, let's look at the risk to reward, right? As I said at the very beginning of this video, she's just closed, a $30,000 trade? Or I think it was what? Yeah, it was like $30,000, right? And now her loss is $6,500, okay? So notice the losses are so much smaller than her wins, which shows you how profitable this strategy is.
We have got a 3 touch point trend line break. So according to the strategy, this is A+. It's low risk. We've got 3 touch points on our downward trend line. We're thinking long positions. Let's get in. Price broke up. We're thinking long, and it simply just didn't work out. It faked us all out. So
I like how she says we as if there's someone else there trading with her.
looked as though it made everyone think we're going up, we're going long, and snapped right against us. We got out. So you can see the exit was because the safety line was crossed. So this right here is where I excel, especially when the markets do move in my favor, is when I can close the trade based on the safety line getting crossed and not the price getting to an area of support and resistance. Now, I am still doing incredible by closing those trades at the support and resistance levels, or at these key levels here, but I excel and I'm able to capitalize on the most when I can close when the safety line is crossed. So this is an example of when the safety line is crossed, but it's a loss instead of a winner. Entry here at 965.44 and exit here at 958.94. So let's talk about why I'm excited to go over a loss and why I'm happy about this loss.
Let's hear it.
One, I'm always happy to have small losers versus a blown account versus a giant fat loss on my
I've been talking about that the entirety of this video, right? Like it is rare that you see that on YouTube, right? But she is clearly an example of someone who has this whole risk management thing figured out.
It's truly just being able to see proper risk management.
Yes.
We love. I will take a small loser over a giant loss any day of the week. Write that down. We're paying a fee. We're not taking a giant loss. And that's kind of the way that I like to look at my losses.
Okay, so she sees it as a cost of doing business. If you're an entrepreneur, then you understand there's something called the cost of doing business. A lot of traders actually are not entrepreneurs, right? Maybe they come from a job. So they're just used to getting paid to show up at work. But when you run a business, there are expenses. And in trading, you think, oh, there's no expenses. I just trade, right? But all businesses, and trading is a business, and you need to treat trading like a business. There is a cost of doing business. And she's saying the cost of doing business is essentially when you execute your strategy properly, according to your rules and procedures, and the trade does not go your way. That's called effective losing, or in other words, the cost of doing business, which is the proper mindset. Love it.
As fees. They're small, they're tangible, they're properly managed. And this is the coolest part to see. All right, I took a long position, it didn't work out. I'm happy to give the market $6,000 of my cash versus my entire capital. So you can see, even after closing the trade, yes, we took the $6,500 loss, but market conditions were shiza anyways. It didn't go anywhere. We made everybody think we were going up, and then we went down, and then we made everyone think we were going down, and then we went up. So consolidation spiked everyone out, faked everyone out. Not fun anyways. I'll take a loss to avoid that any day of the week. Okay, moving on. Okay, August 20th. That was all of August. All right, we have made it to the end of August. 10th trade total for the year. I'm still mind blown. I have finally done it. I've made the transition from day trader to swing trader and doing it beautifully. 10 trades out of the year. Absolutely, that's a swing trader.
I like that she still sees herself as learning. Like almost like if you listen to the way that she talks about herself, it's like she still sees herself as a beginner, which is the best possible attitude to have.
We're only in August, 8 months so far. Let's get into September. September, I placed a little bit more trades. So now I love that I just said how proud I am of being a swing trader and being very picky about my trades and staying to that higher time frame. And then we come in September with 4 trades. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 trades in just September.
Again, check the risk to reward ratio, right? Overall, right? Or just the balance of profits and losses, right? 18,000, 26,000, 21,000, 13,000. Okay. So you see how much bigger the wins are than the losses, which shows you profitability. That's what that means.
Here we go. We're getting closer to the end of the year. I have publicly told the internet, social media, that I have a goal of $200,000 in trading profits. You can imagine, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, there is a little bit of urgency. I'm ready to hit that goal. I'm a little bit nervous. What if I don't hit that goal? I want to capitalize on the market conditions as they were in September. They were great market conditions in September. We had a lot of movement. I was able to place 4 trades. That's more than I would have liked as a swing trader, but I already know. I'm thinking, okay, we've got to publicly at the end of the year either say I did it or I failed you guys. And there's a lot going on psychologically to get into these trades. So 1, we placed too many trades. That's all right. I can see just overview of September. Yeah, we overtraded, especially for a swing trader. We came out on top, profit.
That's overtrading for her, okay? What's overtrading for you? Overtrading for her is 1, 2, 3, 4 trades. That's overtrading for her. Well, how many trades is overtrading for you? That's so funny.
Of $53,000. Love that. So let's get into the first trade of the month. It was closed on September 6th. We were able to capitalize on $18,000. I think I remember closing this in a sauna. I experimented with a bigger position size. I was able to feel something new for the first time in a while. I got nervous because of a bigger position. All thanks to my strategy, though, I'm still able to properly manage my risk, but I did close this trade purely based on dollar amounts, and it was kind of fun to experiment with a new feeling. Bigger dollar amounts, bigger risk, a bigger position than I'm used to. I will say that's probably my
Experimenting in the live market is concerning.
only one for the year where I really just went heavy in a position just to see what it felt like. So, first trade of September, done and closed. Exposure therapy, check. Next trade. All right.
Yeah, okay, I guess. I mean, it depends on the percentage, right? The percentage of your account that you're risking.
This one was in crude oil, 20 contracts. We're back down to reality here. We've got a 2 touch point trend line break, and we were able to capitalize on $26,656. Let's look at the trade here. Now, this one was closed pretty quickly. The price moved aggressively within just a few hours, so I didn't have to hold this for a week or a few days. I was able to close this the next day. We made a pretty big movement in the markets, and price ended up getting to an area of resistance pretty quickly. So I was able to capitalize on $26,656. 20 contracts in crude oil, and we are looking at 2,669 ticks. And I was able to make 3.66 R. So we've got point A here, point B here. Price broke. We're thinking long positions. We went long at 67.96 and closed at 69.30. So yes, I was able to capitalize on $26,000 here, but let's see how much I was willing to lose if this trade did not work in my favor.
Yeah, great.
So if we go down to trade risk, this is my initial risk. If the trade immediately went against me, I was willing to lose $7,290.
Okay, so this is taking into consideration where her stop loss was and saying this is how much she was willing to risk losing. All right. It's still perfectly in line with her risk to reward ratio. So you can see even when she's taking risk, it's still very, very disciplined and controlled, which is exactly what you want to do.
This was an instance where I made money. The price worked in my favor. The strategy worked out for me. But if this was to be a trade that didn't work out, this is what my risk management looks like. I was willing to lose $7,000 if this didn't work out. Love it. All right, moving on. Third trade of September. Here we go. This was a loss. This was a $13,000 loss.
Okay, it's like the first kind of significantly large loss that she's had. I mean, it's the biggest loss I think we've seen so far, I think, right? But still, compare that to the biggest loss, to the biggest win rather. She had a $30,000 win, right? So we're still a fraction of her biggest win, which shows that even when a quote unquote big loss is happening, it's still well within the range of profitability, which is excellent.
One of the biggest losses, and I think biggest losses total of the year, this one right here.
This whole thing could be a this whole video could be a masterclass on risk management. That's what this is. Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna rename this video Risk Management Masterclass.
This is yet another loss according to the strategy. A little bit higher than I would have liked, but regardless, purely by the book. And let's kind of go over what this looks like. I love dissect the losers much more than the winners because, I mean, you can place a trade and get out because you were winning, but how can you manage a loss? How can you manage risk effectively? So we've got
This is the difference between the winner mindset and the loser mindset, between the professional mindset and the amateur mindset. The amateurs are more interested in the wins than the losses. The pros, the professionals, they're more interested in the losses than the wins because they know anybody can place a trade and have the market just happen to go their way, right? And, cash out. But to be able to stay in your right mind when that P&L goes negative and to still operate with poise, with patience, with finesse, with logic, and keep your wits about you, that's where the real skill is in trading. It's about how well you can manage your losses. In the words of Tom Hugard, the best loser wins, and that's what he means.
A 2 touch point trend line break here. Point A, point B. Price broke. I mean, it was a clean break, beautiful. We're making money immediately. We entered at 985.60 in platinum here. You can see the downward trend line. Price broke the downward trend line. So we're thinking long positions. We're in a long position, 20 contracts. There were days where price went absolutely nowhere. Bar after bar after bar, nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. We're not making any money. Maybe we're up a little bit, we're down a little bit, we're up a little bit. Finally, we're looking at Friday Friday, September 20th, we got some movement. Not in my favor. Down, red bar, red bar, red bar, and then here, finally, the upward line is the line that manages my risk. This is called my safety line. As soon as price breaks
Or trailing stop loss.
the safety line, my capital is at risk. So that is how I know, high alert, red alert, it's time to close the trade. Luckily, I have proper risk management. I have a great strategy to tell me exactly when to get out. Closed at 13,574. Now I did hold a little bit longer. I wanted to give this every chance to turn around. And thank gosh to my strategy, thank gosh to proper risk management, I closed because it didn't turn around. If I would have held thinking, okay, maybe it'll turn around, it would have been yet another bar after.
Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. The second you find yourself hoping in a trade, you are screwed. You got to get out.
Bar after bar against me. Bigger loss, bigger loss, bigger loss. So this is where risk management comes into play. Make sure for the third or fourth or fifth time you have proper risk management when trading. All right,
Yeah,
the
again,
end of
this
September.
is a risk management masterclass. Okay, so let's just look at it that way from this point forward.
Looking at two trades, which I was unaware of. Let's see. So we've got the 25th and the 26th. It's looking like we've got two trades, but we've got a total profit of $21,000. Let's break that down. Let's see what this looks like here. Oh, okay. All right, so we've got one trade in crude oil and one trade in platinum. So these are two separate trades. One was a 3 touch point trend line break. One was a 2 touch point trend line break. We are looking at a long position in platinum and a short position in crude. The long position in platinum got me $2,700. The short position in crude oil got me almost $20,000. It got me $19,066. Let's go over the crude oil trade first, and then we'll go over the platinum trade. Crude oil, 2 touch point trend line break, almost $20,000. Why did I get in? Why did I get out? All right, zooming out here, you can see we've got a 2 touch point trend line break, point A, point B, price broke. Love this setup here. Low risk, even though it was only 2 touch points on the trend line, still a great trade nonetheless. We've got
so again, like I pointed out earlier in the video, she's looking for trend reversals. So the price was going down, right? We had this big move down, and then we had a big move up, right? Not as big as the move down, but a strong move up. And then the price reversed here. So on a higher time frame, right? This is actually a bear trend, okay? Because we didn't actually get past the point of invalidation. And so she's essentially entering on a pullback of this larger bear trend. That's one way to see it. Or you could see it as a trend reversal of this bull trend, okay? Because again, she's entering short here, okay? But if you look to the left, you can see that the price was already trending down previously, which means that this is a pullback of this overall bigger move down.
An awesome entry. Price continued to just fall off a cliff here. So the entry was a short position at 70.01, and we closed because price got to an area of support at this.
And remember, she's trading the 4-hour time frame. You can see that right here. So if she enters here, then that means she was holding for about, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 16-hour hold on that.
This 69.06. So I actually closed a little bit early. I should have waited until price got truly to this level of support at 67.66. Would have capitalized on a little bit more profit there, but I'll take it nonetheless. We're getting close to the end of the year. The pressure is on, making sure I can tell you guys at the end of the year, guess what? I did it. I made it to 200,000. So closing a little bit earlier, I get it. Part of the process.
So you can see the mistake that she's making, right? Like she's been talking the whole video about entering at support. At exiting, taking profits at support and resistance levels, right? So if this is a short position, that means that her take profit or her exit is going to be, according to how she's been executing, at a support level. And you can see the support level is actually down here. That's where the yellow line is. But look where she closed. She closed here. So her take profit should have been here, right? That's where she should have gotten out, according to her strategy, right? But she said that, she's falling victim to some mental game problems, right? Some trading psychology issues, which is now starting to trade her P&L because she's thinking, oh, she's later in the year and all these things. And again, it's never a bad thing to take profits, but also your job as a trader is to execute your strategy according to your rules and procedures. And you can see this is an area of improvement for her, according to her, right? I'm just pointing out what she already said.
Process here. But I closed at the 69.06 instead of 67.66. But beautiful entry, love it. No drawdown, bar after bar after bar, completely fell. We're looking at a short position, 20 contracts. I was able to capitalize on 1,910 ticks, and my R multiple was 0.97. All right, so almost 20.
Okay, so just at 1-to-1, right? So just right at that 1-to-1 risk to reward, which, still bare minimum of a good trade there.
$80,000 in crude oil. Now let's see the trade in platinum where I made $2,000. All right, we have got a long position in platinum, 2,000. Let's see, what did I do? Why did I get in? Why did I get out? We are looking at a 3 touch point trend line break, ideal. That is A+. We've got a 3 touch point trend line break. It's a low risk setup. The price is incredibly close to the safety line. If this didn't work out, the loss would have been minimal. We've got an entry here at 995.78 and an exit at 988.52. 20 contracts. We closed simply either because we were at a high. Let me see if I can zoom out and find a area of resistance here.
Right here.
It got close enough to the 1022, which is what I was looking for the exit. I closed a little bit before at 998. So not a huge win here. Very small profit in comparison to the other trades of the year, $2,706, but great entry. So
again, same thing I pointed out as before, right? She's looking at where they were selling before. She's long, so that means she's buying, right? And then when she exits, she's going to be selling because she's long. So she looks to the left and she sees they were selling here. As soon as we got here, there was strong selling. As soon as we got here, there was strong selling. As soon as we got here, there was strong selling. So when we get into that area, she sells, which makes perfect sense.
let's go back and just kind of dissect and review September. How many trades and what was our total looking like for September before we move on? All right, so if we look at the widget here in TradeZella, it gives you an awesome overview. You can see week by week how much you were up, how many trades you placed, your monthly stats here, your trading days. I traded 6 total days out of September. My monthly stat was $53,500 for a total of September. And then week 1, boom, we made $18,000. Week 2, $26,000. Week 3, nothing. Week 4, $8,200, totaling us for $53,500 for September. October, we took it way down, scaled it way back to the theme that we took for the beginning of the year. 1 trade a month, slow and steady.
Look at that, 1 trade a month. It sounds like that's her goal, right? Which is pretty cool to think about, that her goal is essentially to do 1 trade every month, just 1, which gives her a lot of waiting time.
Waiting for the A+ setup. September was aggressive, a lot of trades. There is something very special about this one singular trade placed in October. This trade got me to my goal of $200,000. Oh my God, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So I'm already experiencing a lot of pressure. I am getting so close to my goal. September, you can tell I was struggling. I'm trying to get so close to my goal of 200,000. I am placing too many trades in September. I'm trying to just go ahead and hit that goal and be done for the year. I wasn't presented with my $200,000 in September, but October did give me that last trade to solidify it, help me reach my goal. This was a entry on a 3 touch point trend line break. Great setup here, low risk entry, all the stars aligned. It was a great trade. The pressure was kind of getting to me. I made some videos that you guys may have seen before where I'm struggling. I'm like, you know what? Do I need to punish myself for wanting to place a trade just to simply get me to that goal? I wanted
that's bad news.
to go too heavy in a position because I could have easily hit that goal. If I just went really heavy in a position and it, within just a few seconds moved in my favor, I could have closed it. That's not smart. That is not risk management. That is not my strategy. And this is what I have to do being the kind of influencer and educator that I am. Everything that I do has to be repeatable. You guys have to be able to see the structure, the system, the process, the risk management. So I really had to bring it back and be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna wait. If I'm not presented with an opportunity in October, then I'll just have to wait for the next month. And I finally was. On October 21st, I was presented with a 3 touch point trend line break. It was a long position in crude oil. I went long here when price broke at 70.33, and then price continued to move in my favor. We closed it at 70.90 for a profit of $11,400. That was it. That got me to my goal. Now, there were moments where I should have continued to stay in this trade. Give me some credit here. Yes, I closed. I was it. I made it to the $200,000 mark. I should have closed over here, still same price, but a few days later. So you guys can see we've got an upward trend line here. Price is moving in my favor. We've got some ebb and flow here. Touch point, touch point, touch point. Price finally broke my safety line, the line that manages my risk, that tells me when to get out or when to close and profit, right here at the same price, but just later on in the day. So I would have had to hold through some days of just ebb and flow here and then close it. But regardless, nonetheless, I will take it. A beautiful entry. We were able to close at $11,400, and then we did it. We made it to $200,000 in less than 20 trades of the year. So impressive. I'm very proud of myself, especially just seeing the struggles that I had in 2023, just trying to make the transition from day trader to swing trader, trying to get a handle on the higher time frames, to see it finally click and to see how proud I am and just to see how well I did for the year. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so 2024 year review, stats total as a whole. We're looking at 17 trades total for the year. Net profit and
Nuts.
loss, $200,362. My profit factor was 9.77. My
Excellent.
trade win percentage is 76.47. My average win to loss is 3.01. And then look at this daily net cumulative profit and loss. This is what I like
That's
to
what you
see.
wanna see.
There is
Up,
ups
up.
and downs, but we've got this beautiful gradual increase in capital all the way to our $200,000 goal here. This is my favorite thing to look at the end of the year, is to see the progress as a whole in one chart, one graph. Look at the ebb and flow here. We're making money, we got a little bit of a loss here. We're making money, stagnant. We're making money, a little bit of a loss. And to see the growth, this is what I want to see. Okay, so another thing that I'm very
And this is what I've been pointing out to you guys, right? Like, look at the net daily P&L. Look at the wins. Okay, so these are the size of our wins. You could see it like as a snapshot here. So this is perfect. This is what I've been trying to point out to everyone, right? Look at the size of this loss relative to the size of the wins. Look at this one, right? Now look at the size of this one, and look at the size of this one. Now notice this is the biggest loss of the year. Biggest loss she had all year. Biggest, okay? And look at the size of this loss is not even, it's probably not even half of her biggest win, right? It's probably her, just eyeballing it, it looks like about a third of her biggest trade, okay? So that's how you know that this person, this trader, and this strategy is not only working effectively, but is being executed effectively. As I said, risk management masterclass.
progress as a whole in one chart, one graph. Look at the ebb and flow here. We're making money, we got a little bit of a loss here. We're making money, stagnant. We're making money, a little bit of a loss. And to see the growth, this is what I want to see. Okay, so another thing that I'm very excited about, outside of the daily net cumulative P&L, which I love to see, is the Zealous score over here. The Zealous score is a combination of your win percentage, your win to loss, and your profit factor. When I tell you guys I got 100, I got a 100 A+ Zealous score. I'll take it, okay? I'll take it. If that is the grade that I get at the end of the year for my trading stats, I'm here for it, 100%. Okay, so we went over my entire year, my stats for 2024. Now let's go over something that I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, which is my playbooks and the win percentage. Let me show you guys the importance and significance of having a playbook, but also how we don't need to rely so heavily on the win percentage. Now I only have 2 playbooks here, but there are many more that I use. There are trendline bounces, there are candle closures, there are retests, but these are the 2 most important that played a role in my trading this year, is the 2 touch point trendline break and the 3 touch point trendline break. Now you guys can see
Okay, so
by
these are her
going
setups,
through
right? She calls them
and
playbooks.
dissecting every
She calls them playbooks, but these are her setups, right? This is the pattern that she looks for in order to enter a trade. And she's got 2. One's called a 2 touch point break. One's called a 3 touch point break. Let's look.
trade and giving it a label, giving it a playbook, you're able to see the stats each one can give you. So if you're trying a new strategy or you're trying something new and you want to see what's working better, what's not working, what do I need to eliminate, what do I need to add, this is a great way to do so. So I can see.
And I talked about this in my video, Trading Psychology 101, right? Most traders, right? Basically most beginner traders, they cannot tell you what their setup is, right? I've traded with many traders. And one of the exercise that I do often with people that I've traded with is I say, tell me your setup, right? Show me what it is. What's the pattern that you look for, right? And a lot of times they cannot articulate it. They can't do it, right? Or they have some long, drawn out, complicated thing, especially ICT traders, right? This, that, and this, the other. And they're using all these words complicated stuff that like maybe they don't even understand fully. And it's not simple and easy to understand, right? You need to be able to, at least I think, you need to be able to clearly articulate your setup, which is a pattern that you look for, in 3 to 5 sentences, right? Because the chart is, an entry on a chart isn't that complicated, right? So if you can't do that, like Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. She obviously does, which is why she can put it into a very simple playbook and then look back on the year and split test, A/B test here, which strategy is more effective. And let's see.
Going over the year, which one was better? What entry or scenario or setup do I need to do more of next year and do less of next year? So the differences between the 2 touch point break and the 3 touch point break. Win percent.
Okay, and again, like I was pointing out, she's looking for trend reversals. I don't know why she doesn't call them reversals, but these are trend reversals. That's what she's looking for. Major trend reversals.
You're thinking right off the bat, let's go for the 2 touch point because we're looking at 85.71 win percentage. And the 3 touch point, we're only looking at 77%.
Okay, so, and what she's pointing out here is like most traders, right? Most beginners, they look at that and they go, well, of course, this is the best strategy. No, this is not the best strategy because beginners are obsessed with win rate, and win rate means absolutely nothing, right? I talk about this in the video on my channel called You're Being Lied to About Your Win Rate. And if you're interested in this, go watch that video on my channel. You've been lied to about your win rate. And I show through the math, showing statistics of other traders that your win rate has absolutely nothing to do with your profitability. In fact, I show examples of traders with an 80% win rate who are losing money. They're not even profitable, okay?
But let's kind of dissect this a little bit more. So we've got a net profit and loss. We've got a average winner, an average loser, a trade expectancy. Very different.
Trade expectancy is also known as your average profitability per trade, or APPT, which I'm always talking about. This is essentially what tells you how effective this setup is, right? Average profitability per trade, or expectancy. And what is that? That is the average size of your win times the average size of your loss, factored in with your win rate. That is your expectancy, okay? So it's not your win rate. It's more complicated than that. So that's why you can't look at your win rate. It's your win rate, and you have two other factors that you have to actually combine with that to get a sense of whether or not your strategy is effective or not. So, enough with this obsession over win rate.
So I want you guys to keep in mind, yes, the win percentage is higher on the 2 touch point trend line break, but my average winner and my average loser is not anywhere near as good as my 3 touch point trend line break. So over here you can see, yes, 85.71 win percentage. It was able to get me $80,000. But you can see the average winner was $15,000 and the average loser was $13,000. So I was risking a lot more on these 2 touch point trend line breaks versus, let's look at the 3 touch point. The 3 touch point, yes, it only got me 77.78 win percentage, but I was able to capitalize on $123,000. And then here's the kicker. So my average winner is $18,000 and my average loser is only $4,000. These are much more low risk setups, and I was able to simply just make more money on this 3 touch point trend line break, even though the win percentage is less. So I'm risking a lot less.
Now, what I would be curious to know is what these numbers would have looked like if, instead of exiting at support and resistance, like she was saying she's been doing, but she doesn't want to be doing, and instead actually continue to hold those trades all the way, right? That would be really interesting to see what the numbers look like. And maybe we'll see that next year from her.
Than the 2 touch point, and I'm able to make a lot more than the 2 touch point in the 3 touch point trend line break. So this is the coolest part about going through your year. I can see the 3 is still the reigning queen. It still helps me get A+ setups and capitalize on the most amount of money in the markets. So based on these stats, simply by looking at my playbook, I am going to take the 3 touch point trend line break next year and double down on it. Okay, so just this information alone, incredibly insightful and incredibly beneficial, especially for the newbie traders. If you guys are learning a new strategy or trying to find out what works better and what you need to double down on, this is a great way to do so with your playbooks. Now the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Is Tori a scammer? Is any of this even real? Well, I've got broker statements to back it up. If you say it's photoshopped, at that point I don't know what to tell you. But
okay, so this is for all the haters that think she's a scammer.
Statements from my brokerage. It is a US regulated brokerage in the US. TradeStation, here we go. All right, TradeStation, here we go. My official brokerage statement. Now I did block out my address and my account number. You can see the last 4 of my account numbers so that you guys can go back and verify and cross-reference all of my accounts, make sure the profit and losses are adding up. The account number is the same across all of my videos. So now we're gonna go through the brokerage statements from TradeStation. This is January's statement. One thing that I do want you guys to note here, the beginning balance. I started my account with $112,000 here versus last year my account balance started at $20,000. So big difference here. I'm trading with more risk and I'm trading with more capital this year. Now let's move on to February. February 2024, March 2024, April, May, June, July, August. And there we have it, October 31st, 2024, my last trade of the year. My last brokerage statement with a trade in it. That was my entire year's worth of broker statements. Now, I did show you guys the initial balance when I started. So some of you guys are percentage freaks. You need to know, I don't care about the dollar amounts. I want to know how much she made in percentage. Right here, you can see I made 180.57%. That's incredible. That's impressive. Now, if you guys want to see something crazier.
All right, so if you're interested in my setups, you can hit the link tradesbybren.com/3setups. Hit that like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you want to see more. And if you liked my breakdown of this video, I recommend you watch this video on your screen next. Click here to watch that now, and I'll see you over there.